Whoa, Dad, go, Dad.
That's right. Welcome to Whoa, Dad, Go, Dad. My name's Dave Momper. I'm your host. This is a fatherhood podcast for new dads and soon-to-be dads. I'm a new dad myself, and I'm asking every day, great dads, what does it take? What does it truly take to take on the ultimate role? All right, let's get to it. Mr. Andrew Schremp, welcome to Whoa, Dad, Go, Dad, my man.
Thank you for having me.
So glad you're here.
I'm honored.
You've got a beautiful home in Denver, Colorado, but you're in an outpost building where the world headquarters of Schremp International just needs a little heating.
This is where Dad goes when Dad needs some space.
Yeah. Yeah, we're recording this late in the evening. It's frigid temps in Colorado, and you're cozy though.
25 degrees out. Turned the heater on a little late, so you just throw extra layers on, and here we are.
Yeah.
We're good.
I wish we were sitting in front of a campfire together in real time.
Oh man,
2 dimensions will have to suffice.
Only you could get good audio and good video around a campfire.
Yeah, a little AMSR crackling, fire whispering to us. Let's pretend we're there, sitting fireside together. And we'll give the listeners a little context. I was looking at our timeline as colleagues and confidants and
amigos,
contemporaries, philosophical contemporary. No, but I think we go back if the timing is like 2006, Northwestern Mutual Financial Network.
That's right. I was an intern at Northwestern Mutual, and I got put in your group and under the mentorship of one Dave Momper, and I attribute a lot of learnings to that up to this day.
Oh man, guilty as charged. You taught me a lot as well, so it's a symbiotic relationship, and that was my I got lured into. I was just a financial analyst before that. And then my friend at the time was like, yo, you should do sales, get into a relationship focused role. And, and this should be it. It was a good launch point for my sales career and whatnot. Slinging life insurance and disability insurance and managing.
Yeah. Well, look, I think I learned a lot. I learned a lot from you. I learned a lot there. And I think anytime you can start sales, especially you're a pretty charismatic, gregarious guy. I remember you took me to your alma mater CU. I think we hit up the frat and sorority scene there for a night or two. And it was a lot of fun. But you certainly left an indelible mark on that campus. But I think learning how to sell is really important. And got it. And I think the listening piece is even more important. You've got that with spades too. So
I don't know that I knew how to sell back then though. I didn't really
figure it out.
Sure. But there's a methodology or a practice or a discipline to sales that it is truly a craft. It's one to ever be mastered. Like, it's not like you get pretty good at it and hopefully. But at that time, dude, I didn't know what I was doing. but we learned together, and that was literally the first sales job. And the insurance industry is, it's known for the algorithm that yields business. Like, especially Northwestern Mutual, this guy named Al Granum do you remember that name by chance? The Granum,
no,
or whatever it was.
Is that a Wisconsin guy from Milwaukee? Is that where the company is from?
That was the headquarters, right? And he was like a legendary guy that analyzed the activity level that would then yield, X number of lives, which was the term you would use if you underwrote someone's life insurance policy or disability policy. It was lives. It's all about lives. How many lives can you get? Not take. You're not taking lives.
Definitely not if you're running an insurance business. You want those things to stick around.
That could be problematic. Would not be a good business model. But no, that's where we really I remember traveling around downtown together, going to different business meetings that you would set up, and I would help. Like I knew what I was doing. Like I would help you try to close your intern deals. That was partly my role, right? They had me in the collegiate unit
Yeah.
director role, and that was my formal duty, but also fun just to like watch watch dialing
Flounder,
people up and
flounder. Yeah. Dialing for dollars. Jesus. I forgot about that. I mean, oh, look, I think that's so
and
important
this
for any person, any young man or woman coming out of college to be able to do that. And look, I mean, we were able to we were able to overcome, despite all the odds stacked against us, to outkick our coverage and Nicole and Kenzie. And here we are. We were classic salesmen, got the job done, and now we're dads. And here we
now
are.
we're dads. The ultimate. We've signed the ultimate contract. Uh,
Lifetime contracts. You don't get many of those.
you
We
don't
typically
really.
do 1 to 3 year contracts in my line of work. So a lifetime, it's a good one.
Yeah.
We only need one.
Going to yield many dividends in our lives, no doubt about it. And I was just thinking of like, I remember going to an attorney's office downtown on Broadway, I think it was, and that was just our professional encounters, right? That led us to. I'm thinking of when your birthday and our friend, remember Jonna, her birthday,
Mm, of course. Yeah. We, birthday
Dion.
buddies. I think she was 1 day away from mine, but yeah, we did the bounce house or something. What was that?
It was like a trampoline indoor. Mostly kids were there, but 20 somethings back then, 30 somethings playing dodgeball, jumping around in neon,
Yeah.
celebrating.
If I recall, some of the young guns, the young teenagers got in the dodgeball arena with us, and
Yeah,
it wasn't
lethal.
pretty. Yeah.
You're lighting up the children, letting them know.
Well, they signed the permission slip. They signed the waiver.
That's what I can picture us also in downtown Denver. Feels like so long ago. There was a time where what's now, I think it's still the Russell Smokehouse on Larimer Square. It was a bar that I can just picture us there with like different people. Maybe, oh man, that's like
Yeah.
we were just floundering in business, floundering socially. Here we are.
There were a lot of good times to be had in downtown Denver back in the day. Probably wouldn't be good if we were doing, hitting the scene like that as with our newfound role as dads, but
New commitments,
good
new
times.
priorities.
Good times nonetheless. Yeah. New priorities is about the best way to say that.
New vantages on life. And speaking of vantages, let's share with the listeners a little bit about your roles and responsibilities in life in terms of a profession. You're with a private equity company that invests in tech companies, and so you're analyzing the marketplace, the team dynamics, and basically, I would imagine emerging technologies and trying to make plays. What's that like? And you got to love that, knowing what I know about you. Tell me what your favorite part is.
Yeah, it's fun. It's rewarding. So I'm at Bow River Capital, and it's a big private equity firm. My group in particular does tech acquisitions. So B2B SaaS is our focus. Now with AI, we look at deals with an AI lens, incorporate AI into our portfolio companies. But I think the most important part that any of our group members would tell you is that we're a bunch of former founders and operators ourselves. So we know the trials and tribulations that founders are going through, and a deep bound respect for you and everything that you've done, including this podcast, because it takes a lot of work, a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication to get these things off the ground and get traction. So for us, I think having that deep down respect for what founders are doing, being able to genuinely articulate and have conversations about what they're going through, whether challenges, successes, or anything in between, is really important and really resonates with them. So for me, it's been a perfect fit. It's nice not like having to keep, keep track of payroll and keep the lights on and all that stuff. Somebody else is doing that. So there's some structure, and some boundaries there that have been nice, and, allows me to focus on other things like family and kids and my wife and all that stuff. So it's been great.
I really admired, before this, you were doing the deal, man. You had built your own tech-based startup. But if I remember correctly, it was durable medical supplies and airway specific. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So there was a health tech company called Health Squire,
That's right.
and we built out, think ZocDoc or GoodRx, but primarily around medical supplies. So the airway supplies you're thinking of are the respiratory supplies, CPAP supplies, things like that. And we built out this really cool insurance technology that really made it simple for patients and providers to really understand the cost component of what they were buying. Who's in network, who's out of network, what do I pay? How much will my insurance cover and all that stuff. We built technology to do that in real time. But it's funny as it relates to this podcast, and, being a dad, when we were selling the business, I'll never forget, because, to sell businesses, you typically put a data room together full of different documents, historical financials, key agreements, all of that stuff. It takes a long time to put together, but I had just finished it probably 15 minutes before Nicole went into labor with Liam, my first boy. And it was wild. So we had Liam during the transaction, and deal went through, and it was great. But yeah, I'll never forget getting that data room done just before we had to head over to the hospital.
Incredible, like the closing of one chapter, the opening of another. And I want to come back to Liam because that's almost why we're here. Liam and your other boy. It's like we're here to talk fatherhood, but I think what's really interesting is, as you said, you know, building building something, the complexity of the puzzle of just building anything and bringing it to life. And then if I would just remember these stories I'd hear, you're working with insurance and then almost e-com and health insurance. Uh, well, you got a product. It's just like, that's quite the complex puzzle to solve. And then you did it well enough to sell it. So props to you, but I'm curious, like, what do you
Thank you.
see as a correlation between that puzzle and complexity, like wrangling all of that? What are you bringing from that experience and infusing into your fatherhood style? If there is such a thing, I feel like there's got to be lessons.
Surely. I think, look, starting a business is one of the hardest things that I've ever done. Um, I think one of the key things that I'm Catholic, certainly that helped, but I really gravitated to stoicism. And I know you've got some stoicism in your blood too, but it just helps you keep a level head and even keel throughout the process, because you know that there are going to be high highs and low lows. And with a startup, sometimes that's on a daily basis. Sometimes it's on an hourly basis. It's crazy. And to the point where if everything's going your way and everything's going so well with the business, and I'm not joking when I say this, like, so you're missing something. So like, if I ever felt really good about what we were doing, there was something that I was missing. And sure enough, that was most often the case, despite the company doing well and transacting. But that's just how it was. And I think in terms of fatherhood, patience is a key virtue that you have to have. And going through that with the startup experience, that definitely helps with what I'm doing, what Nicole and I are doing with the boys. I mean, she has that by design. I need to work hard at it. And certainly HealthSquire helped out with that.
So what does she have by design then? Is it structure? What is it? Is it
All the good qualities, man, that I don't have. She's
it's so sweet
caring,
of you to say.
patient. Yeah. She's, like I said, I'm married up. That's what you got to do. Comes back to sales, but
It was amazing. It was so, um, you know, coincidentally, your wife was available in the hospital when we were there. because she works at Children's,
Yeah. That was
and
pretty cool.
to have a friend close by that was
No, she loved that too. I mean, she empathized with you guys so much, and I did too, because our second boy was in the NICU, and she works there and she sees that all the time. And yeah, so when I told her, she was so happy that she could be able to spend time with you guys and help out as, hopefully provide a little bit of comfort for you guys. But Leo's obviously crushing it now, but it's a dramatic time. There's no way around that.
yeah. I mean, it was like poetic that she was there, and then I had another friend from high school, one of my good buddies to this day, Bubba Baker. You ever met Bubba?
I've
I don't know if
not
you've
met
ever
Barbara.
noticed this, bad. So
Seems like
just
one of those guys where if you meet him, you probably remember him. The name
yeah,
like Bubba
he's
Baker.
definitely a distinct man with his name being Bubba, but pretty wild. You and Nick are a great partnership, and I can just picture, you know, my favorite thing about the two of you is your shared affection for the palindrome 81818. The day
True.
of your wedding day, which is a funny
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I have a
To,
few
to
friends that
bring,
might know their wedding date off the top of my head. You are one of them.
I love that. Well, hey, look, that is also by design. Yeah. So to the audience listening, we got married on 81818. If you were wondering what my hockey number is, now you know it's number 18. So that date was palindrome. And yeah, and again, we got engaged, and I think we had the date within like 3 hours, or she had the date within 3 hours. Now she was in school doing PT school, so there was a limited amount of time, but
Sure.
it all lined up. It was perfect.
In a little place called Aspen. Not a bad place to get married.
Little
Yeah.
place called Aspen.
Little place called Aspen. So let's get into the thick of fatherhood, because I'm a 5-month-old father. You're a 2.5-year-old father. And then I'm, a second kiddo who's just a few months ahead, 8 months ahead of my dude. So I feel like, you're fullback. You're just like busting through the holes. You're setting me up. I'm gonna, I want to know what I need to know, right? That I don't know.
Learning from all my mistakes, just seeing them in the wake.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good way to go. Yeah.
And I'm curious. I was wondering what does it mean to you, being that one of the three themes of this entire discussion today and at large with this podcast is I'm exploring the ultimate role. Like, yeah, you get to buy businesses. That's pretty neat. You're a father, or you're a husband, you're a brother, your son, all these different roles. You're a father now. Andrew Schremp is a father, my man. And so am I. And that's like, what else is
The
there? That
best.
is the ultimate
No,
role.
it's the ultimate. I mean, it's the most, it's pinnacle. It's the most important role. If you're a father, that's your most important role, period. Like, hard stop. There's
And I feel
there's no
like
other way to talk about it.
you appreciated that probably conceptually before you were actually a dad. And I mean, this was my experience. So I'm extrapolating I'm assuming what yours was. But I mean, I got it. I was like, yeah, conceptually, this is going to be big. But I don't know. What was it like for it to be tangible for you? And like the
Yeah.
first time you held the kid, or it's like early on, did it finally click? Like, holy shit. Did you have
Yeah.
that moment of recognition?
I think even before that moment of recognition was, and I've looked back on this just instinctively and intuitively, like what makes a good dad, and how does one have what it takes to be a good dad? And I feel very fortunate in that I had a strong father in when I was growing up, right? Like, my dad was everything to me, and my mom was too. But um, these innate learnings that are just ingrained in your subconscious, I certainly attribute to my dad and my parents. And they taught me how to love, and how to love myself, how to take pride in what I do. all of it. So I think it starts there. And like I said, I've had these intuitions and kind of look backs and retrospectives on how I parent. And I think a lot of that is rooted in my upbringing. So I'm very grateful for that and very grateful to come from such a loving home with loving parents. So I think it starts there. But to answer your question more specifically, when I thought that it was real, when I knew it was real, I'll never forget. I think we were like a month away from um, Liam's due date, August 13th. And, just kind of business as usual. It's for the guy, you're not carrying around the baby. It's just, you're still doing your thing, working out, going to work. Nothing's really changed. But I think a month before the due date, I was like, oh, this could happen anytime. And I don't know why I realized that, but I did. So then you start to get the mind right, take the necessary precautions to make sure that you're as prepared as you can be, which is kind of a misnomer because you really can't be prepared. So yeah, that was interesting. And then Liam came on his due date, ironically. And, it's just experience. Actually, Ben Waller, Ben, he
Who
just had a
remembers
kid
friend Ben? That was like
2 days, 2 days
yeah,
ago.
2 days ago. No way. Congrats to
Yeah.
Ben.
Yeah. So we were talking about that and he just busting my butt. He's like, dude, you never told me the birth process was like that. Like, thanks for the heads up. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, it's hard to describe, but
Yeah.
when you're in it, it's certainly something and it's certainly life changing. So yeah, that whole experience was just wild. Nicole's an animal. She was in labor for 36 hours. She's a purist. She didn't do the, God, I always forget the name of this thing, whatever that.
Epidural or
She didn't do an epidural. It was all natural.
Tristan. Yeah, all natural.
So yeah, it was wild from start to finish. And, but yeah, and then you hold Liam and it's just, everything has changed.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's true. Everybody says that. And it's crazy to, it's like so cliche, but it's so true. And, I think it just hits you at different points along the way too, right? It's just, uh, waking up in the middle of the night to help feed and help your partner and Nicole and do all that stuff and respond. Like you nailed it. And priorities are completely different. Priorities to your son and priorities to your partner as well.
It reframes everything. And anyone listening, you're about to have a kid. Like the goal is not you can't do really anything to prepare. Just look forward to the experience.
Yeah. It's like everything, right? Like they say, enjoy the journey. And people go nuts trying to get all the right things. And do I need this? Do I need this? And, they overbuy everything. And you don't. Like kids have been born for, I don't know, Adam and Eve, big boom, whatever, however you want to call it. We've been around forever. And you don't have a snoo, whatever the thing is. We actually had the snoo and it was too good. Whereas the point where it's like, Nicole's like, if this baby needs to be rocked, I want to rock him. I'm going to rock him. This thing's too good. It's too unnatural. We were talking about human versus AI and all that stuff. So,
the snoo must be the automatic rocking device that it's a pretty penny and it's like the most, you're automating the parenthood experience. Although I can see why people need that, right?
There's so many things that, there are things that help and it's great, but what you really need is just commitment and care and love and everything else takes care of itself.
Yeah,
Kids will be fine.
That is the truth. And you're planning within constraints, so we had literally the physical constraints of the size of our place and number of rooms and things like that. And like, well, I just don't know where we're going to put all the things you could buy. So you got to make, and then you're like, well, what's practical? And we've almost just let the need for something show up and present itself and solve for it, versus having everything figured out. And then how was Ben's experience? Like as you were describing that, what what would he have wanted to know, or what did he want you to tell him now that you know what you did he, if you could
First
go back
question
a
I
month and give him advice on like, hey, be on the lookout, be ready for, and be excited about this, what would it be?
Well, the first question I asked, which is going to clue you into one of these answers, is where were you standing during the birth? Were you behind her or were you in front of her?
Yeah.
I'd like to think I have solid mental fortitude, but in moments like that, it's a lot. So I was actually behind Nicole,
Yeah.
helping her out, and I could still see things as they were happening. Ben was behind as well. So I don't, great minds think alike, I guess. But some fathers take a different stance and they're right there ready to go. And we're basically saying hike. So yeah, I think it's just an emotional process. But for me, I didn't need to see everything as it was happening. I don't know how you felt about that. I'm not a blood guy. I see blood and I won't faint, but I'm not feeling great. Not, with Bowden, there was a lot of blood, but anyway, I don't know.
What's your
take?
guess? What's your guess on where, what was my position?
Oh, you were probably front and center.
Yeah. I caught his head. Like I was watching the whole thing. It is amazing. And we did, or Mac did, all natural birth as well. She was in a birth center.
It's huge. It's awesome.
And
I mean, it's great. People have different processes, but like
totally.
just
But to
seeing
so
that in
whether
action,
it's that, and I could
the
see why
warriors.
somebody would want to have an epidural. Like you can tell, there's reasons we've advanced at least the options, and some are just comfort, and some might be medically warranted. But there's a whole spectrum of approaches. None of it is easy, and to watch, no matter what route the mama takes, to watch them go through it and to see them like channel that life force, and that man, it was primal. It was amazing. I'm more intrigued and intrigued by my wife and attuned with my wife than before. Just to watch that, to witness that, to see her. Yes, she's giving birth to my son. She's also becoming she's fully blooming into her own motherhood. Right?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And when you say attuned with your partner, Mackenzie in your case, and Nicole in mine, I mean, I think that's spot on. It's just a different level of your relationship at that point. It's incredible, right? Like now you have created someone with someone else. You can't do anything. You can't beat that. You just can't. I don't care what it is. You can't beat that.
Amen. What else would you tell Ben, or what else did you tell Ben?
We were really focused on that part because that was the most traumatic part that I was kind of replaying back in my mind. His baby was big. Caden Robert Waller, for all those listening, that's a solid man, strong man.
Yes, indeed.
And I think he was 8 pounds, 14 ounces.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he was just on cloud 9. He's a sentimental guy too. So, he's pretty emotional, but I think in the way first of all, women are warriors. Everything that they do when they're pregnant, from day one of pregnancy up through delivery, and then after delivery, it's insane what their body goes through, right? Like their feet grow, their body grows, like they go through, there's hormone stuff. Like it's wild. So
totally. And muscular changes and bone structure, almost, not almost, I think it does, it's fair to say the changes that our partners go through are dramatic, and some are temporary, and some are permanent, and some are physical, some are mental, some are chemical and hormonal. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's even, you said, patience to be a good father to your kiddo, but being patient with your partner is half of it. In my experience, just, trying to be steady in the storm of this completely uh, hard to conceptualize transformation that Mac has gone through.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, and then the other thing that comes to mind too, Dave, is in preparation. Maybe I did tell him this, maybe I didn't. Waller's not much of a reader, not to bag on Waller this entire podcast, but kid had it coming anyway. There's a book by Emily Oster that I really like. It's got a yellow cover. Actually, it may be in here. Anyway, Emily Oster, yellow cover. I forget what the title of the book, but she's an economist and she takes a very pragmatic view at things. So she talks about, breastfeeding is, should you breastfeed? Should you not? Should you have your kid in a snooze? Should you not? Should you get all the shots? Should you not? She takes a very scientific approach at it. So it's very
Crib sheet.
data driven, crib sheets. That's right. So it's very data driven. And as a dad, as a pragmatic person, as a I don't want to call myself a finance guy, but I guess here we are as an entrepreneurial finance guy. It was really refreshing and really helped out. And there are a bunch of different books too that you can buy, and we read a handful of them, but that was the one that I felt like I got the most value out of.
Well, it's good to bring that up too. Like the approach to preparing yourself mentally. I mean, there's like logistics of having the car packed at a certain point, and having the house set and all that kind of stuff, supporting the vision and doing the putting stuff together or going and tracking it down. There's all that stuff. And then there's the minimal approach to that, by the way, too, right? But then there's like the mental preparation afforded through books, and there's endless resources and even, podcasts. You can probably get bogged down in that. I don't Part of me feels like going back to the point you made earlier, we've been doing this for eons. And for any dad listening, I bet there's some value in doing some homework, right? Don't get me wrong. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't overburden yourself. And also trust that you've got instincts inside of you that are going to guide you as well. And don't forget about those things. We are literally wired that way. And especially mama's instincts, mama instincts and in McKinsey's instincts were, we really tapped into those. I mean, in the last,
start building that dad strength.
Dad strength is yes.
Right. It just kind of starts coming.
Yeah. Dad strength, dad instincts, mama instincts, don't, I don't know. I just don't want people to forget about those aspects. And as you're supporting your partner, like I kept telling Mac, like, this is going to be hard, but I got you. What else can I say? Like, I can't soften it. I know it's going to be arduous. It's going to be the craziest thing you've ever done. I could take some of it off of you, but not really much of it. But I got you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, as a dad, that's all you can do, right? Like, have support them as best you can, and your partner in that regard. And at the end of the day, it's not us that can actually physically deliver the baby. So you do everything you can up, to help out up to that point, etc. But talking about instincts, I don't know for you if there is an instinct that kicked in for you as a dad, but for me, there was one that for baby one, baby two, primal instincts kicked in. Do you know where I'm going with this? Do you have any idea?
Yeah.
The cry. I could not believe when the baby cries, my skin would literally start crawling because it's instinctual, right? It's evolution at work. The baby needs something. You have to get up, go stop doing whatever you're doing and go into that room. And as much as you resist, it is so hard because those cries are just blood curdling and it's crazy. And I'll never forget. I mean, you still, if Liam cries or Bowden cries, boom, it just like kind of hit you.
Sure.
Okay, what's going on? But that was something with Liam, our firstborn, that was just day one. I was just like, holy smokes. Like it just gets you aroused and gets you going where you have to visceral reaction. Something has to be done here. And it's crazy.
Yes, indeed. And of course, obviously something has to be done. That baby is upset, but did it actually, like, it hits your ears and creates a chemical reaction, and that affects literally the sensation on your body, and like probably pumps you full of
Gives me
adrenaline to go
chills. Yeah.
nuts, man. It's fascinating what we're experiencing. And then it's even more fascinating for me just watching my wife become a mother, and then be, in our case, and I'm curious how you're handling the feeding approach, but it's like Mac is breastfeeding Leonidas. He's eating like a champion. He's got little biscuit thighs. He's approaching 20 pounds at 5 months. He's 26 inches long, probably longer. This was like 3 weeks ago. We
He's
measured
not
him.
almost 20 pounds. Is he almost 20
He's
pounds?
literally, yes.
Come on.
He's 19, on his way to 20.
That's insane, right?
Yes.
Like that is a massive baby.
Yes.
And Liam's 2.5. He's 30 pounds.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
And I don't
With
know.
a name like Leonidas, I guess that's bound to happen.
And so, at first we were definitely worried about him early on because he came out lifeless and breathless, and then had to learn how to find his hunger and all that, and learn how to feed off a bottle, and then
Awesome.
dance with mom. And now they're thick as thieves. It's like they're totally supply and demand. The economics of the breast are calibrated.
It's a classic Greek drama playing out right in front of our eyes. You can't wait until he tours the world on his own in a ship and God, what did Odysseus have? You know what I'm getting at. Anyway, we're talking Iliad right now, but
No doubt. Oh man, it's so good to just see him thriving. So good to see him thriving. So I want to play out this notion of, how are we raising legends? How are we instilling adventure in them? How are we leading our children, and then also bestowing great leadership skills upon them? So I had asked you, what does it mean to be a legendary father, to help set up our time together? And you had replied with, a legendary father is a man who provides each of his kids with an overabundance of our most precious resource, time. A legendary father uses this time to be present and help each child grow into the fullest version of their unique selves, fostering growth, confidence, a love of learning, and curiosity. A legendary father lets each fail, but when needed, provides guidance rooted in foundational values that will help the child grow into a fruitful member of the community. Isn't that beautiful?
thanks. It's true.
What, the nod to your father early on, by the way, like, I feel that there's a chance we're learning from our fathers one way or the other. And whether they're fully present or distant, whether they're good fathers or bad fathers, there's plenty of lessons. And you learned things to emulate about your father.
Yeah.
Of this response, give me an example of your dad showing up this way to give you then tangible experience of what these words actually mean.
Yeah. I mean, look, he was always there for me. And don't get me wrong, like my dad's just probably like your dad or anybody else's dad. There are times when he drives me absolutely nuts. I'm 38 years going on 16 years in his eyes. And I think that's never going to change. But he's there. And like in work, when I had my company, I call it the care factor, right? Like you either care and care deeply or you don't. And hopefully as parents, it's innate and you have that visceral reaction. It's just there. Have that. But I think, my parents had that in spades, and, from whether it was teaching me how to, discipline, right? That was, I think routine and discipline were key, right? I remember I'd wake up in the mornings and I'd do my homework or learn, write my handwriting, practice my handwriting or whatever it was, or maybe I had an early morning hockey practice or something like that. But consistency and discipline around being your best and being the best of your abilities. People have different abilities, kids have different abilities, but as parents, as fathers, it's our job to bring out the best, whatever those abilities are. It's funny. This will resonate with the Denver audience. I was at the Nuggets game, and it was a Bow River thing, and was fortunate enough to we were with Michael Porter Jr.'s family, and MPJ's, I forget. He's a point. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not basketball savvy. Anyway, he's a great player on the Nuggets. He's awesome. He's got 2 brothers that'll probably be in the NBA. He's got 2 sisters that also play basketball. And his dad and mom were his coaches. And I was fortunate enough to sit next to his dad. And I knew this, and you could tell that he was just a really great guy, level-headed guy. And you could tell he's really thoughtful about how he parented and how he coached his kids. So I asked him, I said, what tips, tricks, what can you share? And I said, look, there are a couple things that I think are really important. Number one, each child has certain gifts. They're born with certain gifts. And as a dad, as a mom, it's our jobs to figure out what those gifts are and foster those gifts, grow those gifts. So he said with Michael, Michael's 6'10". Of course, he's going to be an NBA basketball player, but they had drums. He had the guitar. He had books. He had ice skates. They put everything in front of him that he could use just to see what he was gravitating, what he liked, what were his passions, what did he gravitate towards. I think that's really, really important. The other thing.
Well, it also sounds fun to like uncover that gift.
Yes.
It's not, and hopefully it's not work, but it's actually the gift of being a father. That's the gift of being a father, is uncovering the gift of your kiddo and
100%.
revealing it to him or her and to the world.
100%. And, as a hockey player, if Liam wants to play hockey, great. If he doesn't, great. It doesn't matter. But what matters is that he finds something that he really is passionate about, he really enjoys, and he strives to be the best that he can at that. The other thing that struck me that Coach Porter told me was, when they do gravitate towards something, you got to make it fun. Always make it fun. It can't be work. You can't have an agenda as a dad. Your only job there is to make it fun and foster that love of learning, that love of whatever it is, guitar, sport, what have you. And that's what I try and do on the ice with Liam when we're on the ice or when we're reading or whatever. We're potty training, trying to make it fun while trying to have him actually go pee in the potty. Fine line of fun and firm.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought that was really interesting, and that really stuck out to me. Because I don't feel like it's often where you meet, especially a parent like that, right? Like he played professional basketball. His wife played professional basketball. You hear stories about Tiger Woods and his dad and how, he was basically worked Tiger so hard, too hard, in my opinion. But look, he's a great golfer. But to have a dad that has a refreshing take like Coach Porter has, I just think it's very rare. But I think he was spot on, and he's clearly cerebral, right? He's like, there's a book you need to read. It's called The Talent Code. It's an amazing book. So it's data around how children, adults develop skills and develop talents. And you can tell that Coach Porter was a master in terms of trying to get the most out of whether it's his kids or anybody that he coached. He was a student of the game and showed. So I was really taken back by that. It really fortified, I guess not fortified, but helped my thinking in terms of, how to raise these little animals.
So Michael Porter Jr.'s father, Michael Porter Sr., Coach Porter.
Coach Porter, coach. Yeah.
What a great little, and you got to watch the whole game sitting next to him, just waxing on dadhood. Huh?
It's fantastic. And then saw the guys afterwards, met some of the wives and kids, and it was a great time. I really enjoyed it and got to spend time with coach and MPJ's trainer. And I mean, you could just tell that just a very thoughtful family and thoughtful group. And
Well,
talk
I'm
about a
thinking
guy that's
of like the fatherhood mindset as a coach versus
it is.
a
It is.
friend, although you're a friend, versus a, you know, a disciplinarian, or although but like coach as a primary function, right?
Yeah, I think like you mentioned disciplinarian, you mentioned friend, like it's up to the dad. What kind of dad do you want to be? Right. Like as an athlete, I had plenty of player coaches. I had plenty of coaches that drove a hard line in the sand. Um, you know, people resonate to different types of personalities.
Sure.
But yeah, you have to find that
How do you
balance.
decide the dad you're going to be? Like, how, what advice do you give to somebody to say, well, there's these different ways to do it. The coaching methodology, Coach Porter would advocate for, and be a steward of that, an example of that. There's also this. There's also this. What other variations of dad style do you see out there that are worth factoring in?
Yeah. Look, I think there are a lot. I think there are a million, and it depends on your personality type, and it depends on, how you were brought up, from your dad and your parents. Um, but what I will say that's important is as humans, as dads, as people, whatever, we're all flawed, right? So there are things that my dad does that I love. There are things that my dad does that I don't love. So as an individual, as a, in my goal to be the best father that I can be, I need to work at certain things and I need to pick and choose how I'm going to parent, how I'm going to be. What I'm saying is you need to be proactive and you can't just be passive when it comes to, oh, like I've just got this. Yeah, you do to a certain extent, but is that, in my opinion, why not learn and try and take it to the next level, right? Why not try and read a book like Talent Code or whatever it may be? Where can you pick up these little nuggets that you can incorporate into your parenting style, into your family? An example that I'll give, Dave, is with the holidays, right? Like I'm a big Christmas guy. I love Halloween. And I view it as an opportunity for me, it's always around how can we do things as a family? How can we grow as a family, create that bond, that camaraderie as a group, as a unit, and learn, right? There are all kinds of different Christmas traditions around the world. So what an opportunity to learn about different cultures. For example, the Germans have a pickle that they put on the Christmas tree, right? So we do that. You've got St. Nick's with the candies in the shoes. We do that. And we try not just, so you're creating fun things, but you're also educating the kids at the same time. I don't know, it's just little things like that.
And that's just like you're infusing your, I would suspect at least, the holiday styles, like what you learned, plus Nicole's, you're infusing those two things. And then you're actually, you're seizing the moment to kind of create it with Liam as well. I suspect, like you're teaching him the rituals and
Exactly. I
making
think that's exactly right. I think, look, we have our traditions that we've grown up with, but why not cultivate our own tradition, right? Why not take the time to think, what do we want to do as parents, as our family? What do we want to create? And I think it's a really unique opportunity to do things like that in different ways.
So you're almost saying, yeah, trust your instincts, trust your skills, trust you got this, but at the same time, lots of great resources, little nuggets to infuse, and then uh, like something about fatherhood by design, like family design. Like you're being intentional
It's
with
perfect.
things, and
Trademark
I
that.
suspect I use this these three different realms working with some of the leaders and professionals where it's like when you're communicating, have you created clarity on 3 different levels: purpose, method, and outcome, right? Why you're doing something, how you're going to do something, what's the outcome? It's almost
Yeah.
easy to design or articulate or work towards articulating a desired outcome. So I suspect you and Nicole kind of sat down a little bit, or you formulated like, here's the outcome we want to get or create or generate for Liam and for Bowden. How exactly we're going to do it, we'll solve for that along the way, or we'll figure that out, or that's. So are you and Nicole aligned on like an approach, the methodology, and the outcome? Neither? A little bit of both? One or the other? I mean, why you're doing it. Purpose is, it's a calling.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the point of life in a sense, but what kind of outcomes
Yeah.
are you guys working towards that you've actually got alignment on as parents? Were you that explicit about parenting, or are you just trusting the process?
I think it's a little of both. Now that I do a retro on it, it's probably a little too much of trusting the process. I think from the outcome, for the outcome perspective, you know, like the questions that you read that I answered around what makes a good dad. I mean, our goal is to just raise really good human beings, really good people that can provide, love each other, love one another, and just be a positive attribute to society. That's our goal, right? We want it's great little humans that can be the best that they can be. And um, that's really it. From a method standpoint, I think that's where Nicole and I are pretty organized, pretty regimented. I mean, she's lightning speeds more than I am on those 2 elements, but we actually have, so we actually pay for a Slack account. We've got all kinds of different Slack channels, just the 2 of us. And one of them is for the boys and traditions and cultures and lessons and learnings and things like that. So we try and be really cognizant because there's so much, think about all the media and all the content that we see. A lot of it's garbage, but there's some great nuggets and great tidbits that you can take and incorporate, right?
Mm.
Like if someone's doing something that you like, great, steal it, take it, use it, implement it. And because there's so much, everybody's busy, everybody's got stuff going on. We just have a repository in Slack where we keep this stuff and we revisit it from time to time, probably not as much as we should, but we try to be really proactive and conscious about things that we can do with Liam and Bowden, whether it's now, whether it's when they're 5 years old, 6 years old, high school age, whatever. There are different learnings, different things that you can incorporate in different parts of their development stages. But that's how we handle it. But different folks have different procedures. We're probably much more regimented and routine based than other families, and other families are probably more capricious. And that's something that, Nicole and I as individuals probably need to work on. But that's something that we can, certainly help instill in the boys.
Yeah, I wonder if people. I'm sure someone out there is talking about like parenting design or like family design. How do you truly curate the family experience? Based on the desired outcome, based on a purpose and your value set. Like,
Yeah.
and what are all the different questions worth asking to help you determine for yourself and for you and your wife and your partners, like, and for your kids, like, there's got to be something out there. I'm sure we're not the first.
There is, and it comes back to one of my favorite baby authors, Emily Oster. She's got a book called The Family Plan,
Yes.
and this is a blue cover, and it's the same thing. Emily, I think, takes an approach similar to Nicole and I's. I think it's probably a little overboard, but she has good points, right? Like, so if you've got 1 or 2 kids or whatever, like, and let's say there's soccer practice on Mondays and Wednesdays, and there's hockey practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then there's violin practice or whatever, like, right? Like, and then you've got 2 kids or 3 kids, you only have a finite amount of time. So where do you, as a family, as a unit, where do you want to spend that time? How do you want to spend that time? And that's where I think as parents, especially in our day and age, where, we try and do everything and anything. And whenever that happens, you don't do a good job, right? You do a half-assed job at pretty much everything. So being conscious about how you spend your time, where you spend your time. And that's, again, it's all about finding balance. Like you want to give your kid that opportunity, right? Where Coach Porter says, find where they can shine and where they really gravitate towards. But at the same time, as a family, as a unit, how are we going to spend our times? What matters to us? Does sitting down and eating dinners every night matter to us? Or does running around and doing different hockey practices, whatever practices matter? And that's just something that I don't think parents do a good job of really, really proactively and consciously make these decisions. It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. And there's already plenty of life to like manage, to then have to go sit around and plan out and manage the rest of your life. It's like some people are just flying by the seat of their pants.
Oh, 100%. And as a dad too, right? Like, where are we going to find our time? Right? Our time to read, our time to work out, our time, whatever you want to do, whatever you like to do. It's really important to find a little bit of your time too. And that's something that I struggle with because, I want to hang out with the boys. I want to hang out with Nicole. I want to be together, and it's hard work. They go to bed at 7. Great. Am I going to hit the treadmill or work out after that? It's harder, but yeah, you can do it. But it's a constant, it's a constant struggle, but that's where routine and discipline and commitment really start to take shape.
The yields. I mean, it does. It's been such an interesting forcing function. I haven't actually fully calibrated my life to accommodate the forcing function, or to, it's still working itself out, if you know what I mean. It's like,
Yeah.
there's an adaptation period, and fascinating to like really just like, oh, this is how we have to live our life in order to actually enjoy our life. Now we have to do it differently than for sure when you were just a partnership. It's
100%.
just so it's obvious it's going to be different, but then what it really demands out of us is profound. And I'm just barely into it. It's like, what will it look like to be managing 2 boys ages 5 and 7? The right math?
It's different.
Yeah, that's totally different. What do you anticipate fatherhood looks like when you have a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old?
I have no idea. It's going to be fun. It's always fun. It's just going to be, I have a good hockey buddy that said it best. And this is actually a pretty funny story. So I'm texting with a couple hockey buddies. These guys are from LA. You probably met them when you were out there at some point, but, when I had a newborn kid, I think Liam was probably 5 months. The others was probably 4 months. And I think we were excited that they were like sleeping through the night or something like that. So we're just like, yeah, they're sleeping through the night. This is great. And the other guy has 3 kids, all a little older. And he goes, yeah, great win, boys. But I hate to break it to you. This is just, there's just, you think you got something figured out, and then another shitstorm just comes rolling through. And it's so true. It's so true, but it's awesome. I mean, this is why, you have to enjoy the journey, enjoy the moment, enjoy the present. And yeah, you just have to sit back, and at the end of the day, it's great. You created a human. It's awesome. As long as you're trying, as long as the love is there and the time and care is there, you're spending the time. That's the most important piece, in my opinion. But I will say this, to everybody listening, I think the most profound thing or biggest change that I've endured is time, right? Before, you and your partner had unlimited time. We do whatever you wanted. time is not your own anymore. It's changed. How are you going to optimize time and structure time to give and raise these kids as best you can? I mean, that is the key, in my opinion. So, for example, before I joined Bow River, I mean, this was table stakes to me, and it was very clear. Like, look, I'm going to hit these. I'm going to work very hard, establish a lot of value at the firm, but I'm going to spend a lot of time with my family too, and hit the windows that you can. So, in the morning, getting up, breakfast, all of that, taking them to school. In the afternoons or evenings, picking them up, doing bath time, dinner time, talking, reading, taking them. Those are so important. And it just changes, it changes the game. So, for example, during the workday, I'm much more productive, much less water cooler talk and just kind of BS. You still have to do that a little bit. You want to establish rapport with your employees and your colleagues and all that stuff. But at the same time, you need to get your work done and you need to do it well. And you only have a finite amount of time. So I think that's changed. And as an example, that's why we're doing the podcast at 10:50 at night, right? The boys are asleep. Leo may or may not be asleep, but point is just how can you maximize time to really enjoy those little windows and be there for those little windows with the kid.
Yeah. It's a friend of mine who's on the podcast a little bit ago, RJ, had noted. It kind of just reveals to you like what you're made of. And not to say you're going to find your limits, but it's just going to actually show you that you're really capable. It's going to be hard, or there's going to be changes, constant changes. Like your buddy said, you think you got to figure it out. Something new is about to land.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Right. But it's these constant new lessons that just really show you the metal that you have in your heart and in your mind. And it's a joy so far. I mean, it's like, so obviously the way it started, I thought, oh my gosh, well, I'm a dad, hopefully. And
You were
now
throwing into the fire.
now I'm going, holy smokes. Okay. I'm a dad. Thank God I'm a dad. And everything about this is a gift. Like even there's really no complaints, honestly. And he's been pretty easy going. He's been pretty easy going at this point. He's just happy and he's crawling around and not crawling, but wiggling around, approaching the crawl. He needs to get
on mass.
Yeah, taking on mass and as soon as he gets tabletop, just like
Tabletop, for everybody listening, is when your kid starts to plank and it's a thing, and then they'll start crawling pretty quickly thereafter.
yeah, it's
It's a cool thing.
I could see he can get his hips up in the air and then he can get his chest up in the air, but not at the same time. As soon as he does that and learns a little bit of locomotion, it's game changing.
Well, it'd probably be easier for him if he didn't weigh as much as my eldest at 2.5, but
Yeah.
he'll get there.
Yeah. He's hardy, man. You got to meet him soon. So tell me
Can't
this,
wait.
like, let's incorporate a little bit of your vantage and your skill set. You're analyzing, the marketplace for businesses that are obviously playing the game right, bringing new value to the market and leveraging new technologies and even incorporating AI. Like, what is it going to be like to raise kids in this kind of new realm?
Glad you asked.
What's on your mind? What can we be excited about? What would be worth not being worried about, but being on the lookout for? How are you thinking about this with two young boys?
Oh my gosh, it's such a important question, especially now with, you've got social media and Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. And the studies are starting to come out in terms of how it's affecting our children. It's not good. We all know this now. And what it surprises me as parents, look, I think there's a hard way to do things and there's an easy way to do things in life, right? And typically the right way is going to be the hard way. And there's no cutting corners. There's no secrets. It's how it is. With parents, it's really easy to just throw a tablet in front of your kid and let them watch a screen or Paw Patrol or anything like that. We are adamantly against that. We do not do that. Occasionally we'll do like 5 minutes of him watching like trains or garbage trucks on YouTube. That's it. 5 minutes. Maybe once every other week. Well, we've got some friends and some parents that, they watch movies, they do all that stuff. I mean, the kid's 2.5. Like, in my opinion, look, this is my opinion. Everybody's got their own style. I'm old school in this regard, where I think kids should be outside playing, whether it's throwing a baseball, kicking sand, whatever. The boys are outside all the time. Even when it's cold out, we're building snowmen, we're doing whatever. And we're going to keep it that way. I mean, it's going to get harder as they get older, because then you get friends that have phones and all that stuff. But, I don't think that's a reason to give them phones or give them a tablet or whatever. But with the access to data that kids have, it's a battle and it's hard. So as a parent, that means you need to do your job and watch these kids like a hawk and be very conscious about what you allow them access to and what you don't allow them access to. Again, there's a hard way and there's the easy way, and the hard way is most usually right. So it's just doing your job, right? Even when we're flying, when the boys are in the airplane and we're flying, we don't take out an iPad. We've got toys that we pack. We've got puzzles. We've got crayons. We've got coloring. There are all kinds of alternatives that they can do, rather than just, in my opinion, it's the lazy and easy way out, rather than just throwing a tablet in front of them and letting them watch Pop.
Yeah. And lazy feels like, well, it's definitely easy. And I'm sure people who are doing it aren't necessarily lazy, but it's like, what's the actual cost that we're neglecting?
You're not building a bond with your kid.
Well, there's
That's
that
the
for
cost.
sure. Yeah. Okay. Hit me with more. What else is
that?
there?
Yeah, sorry. I feel very strongly about this subject. I hate seeing it in public. I see it all the time. It drives me nuts. You have certain time windows, and this is why, Nicole, for us personally, we don't have a nanny. We don't have any of that. We do everything ourselves. Why? Because they're our kids and we want to mold our kids. That does nothing to, it's not saying bad about people that do have nannies or whatever. Everybody's got their different parenting styles. But if Liam or Bowden do something or does something that we don't like, we want to be the ones to correct it. We want to be the ones to correct it in the way that we feel good about and comfortable about, positive reinforcement, things like that. But we want to make sure that they're under our watch. And when I see kids in public that are their parents just give them an iPad, whether it's at breakfast or whether it's on the plane, that's 30 minutes, that's 60 minutes that you can be bonding with your kid instead of having them watching whatever. You can be teaching them, you can be learning. You just have to be creative. This is where, if you are conscious and proactive about raising your kids, this is time, you're never going to get this time back. A million people have told me this. A million people have told you this. A million people have told every parent this. So it's about establishing that routine, that discipline as a parent, that I'm not going to take the easy way out, and that I'm always going to be there trying to help learn or teach our kids and just create those, bonding moments, because they're fleeting. They're fleeting. Liam's 2.5. It's like he was born yesterday. Bowden's 8 months already. Leo's 5 months. It's crazy. If time flies. And why? Think of it this way. And this happened. So we had a babysitter that we hired one time, and we've got a couple cameras set up in the house, and this was recommended from someone recommended her, and she was on her phone half the time. And as a parent, that's infuriating. And then as a parent, I get home, I'm with my kids and I'm going to be on my phone. How mad, like you should be just as upset at yourself as that babysitter. And that happened. And that was a real realization that I had in that when I get home, what I try and do is put the phones away, put them down, don't need them. After the kids go to bed, then, you owe it to them and yourself to be present. Feel very strongly about this.
Well, I feel like what you're getting at is what are the true responsibilities of being a parent, and are we willing to take on that full responsibility? Which
100%.
we give. I can see why people are using these are tools, technologies to make it easier because the responsibility is notable. And it's nice to get a break from that sometimes, I suppose. But I also wonder about the cost down the road because you're establishing these habits and kids that I know I'm a bit older than you, but we were both like, we're raised in where there was a little bit of technology in our lives, but not for our whole life. At least for me, like there was a point where there wasn't anything, like not even, I had pagers.
You had this. Yeah, that's right. You had the sextant when you were out trying to navigate the seas, probably.
The sextant, the captaining my ship. But for real, I mean, it's like these technologies will be baked into their existence from day one if you're not careful, and they will literally, like a vacuum, just suck up all their attention. And some of that attention
Exactly.
could be spent in decent ways, valuable ways, if you're intentional about it. So again, comes back to intentionality and designing, being purposeful with everything in parenting. But I just imagine how susceptible we are when it wasn't even fully part of our lives since day one, and yet it's second nature to have your phone everywhere in our culture, right? And what are they going to be losing out on? And I love how you're so committed to these analog approaches and these just really wholesome human approaches to how you're spending your time with them, setting that example and really giving them maintain, almost at this point especially, like maintaining their innocence.
Yeah, you are essentially, these are little moldable creatures. And the word that you used that really stuck out and resonated was habits. You're habit forming for these individuals, right? They're learning from you. They're learning your habits. You're helping them create good habits. So what habits do you want them to create? What habits do you want them to have? And it's our jobs to create those healthy, well thought out, well structured habits for them.
Right.
I mean, we all know as humans, like nobody's perfect. I'll give you a great example. And this was recent. So I had a bad habit of having my phone in bed, right? I mean, lights off, go to bed. And then what do? You just start scrolling. I don't even have Instagram. I'm just like Apple News. Well, it was, yeah, it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, stupid. There's no reason for it. You just go to bed. So what I started doing, and this was in early December, I put my phone's no longer in the room. Both of them got the phones with Bo River too. So both of them are out in the kitchen area. So they're not in the room. Well, anyway, I wear an Apple Watch at night. Completely. I love it because it doesn't do anything, but what it does when I wake up, it does little pulses on my wrist. So it's a nice way to wake up. And that's why I do it. But it also keeps track of your sleep data. After I did this, so since call it December, January up till now, I've looked at my sleep data over the last 90 days compared to prior. I'm sleeping an extra 45 minutes to an hour every night because I nixed this habit. And the reason why I bring this up is because as parents, we need to be on the lookout for good habits, bad habits, and try and create good habits, especially in a world where you've got engineers and programmers at Facebook, Meta, Apple that are trying to design products for bad habits just for more usage. Oh, I need to grab my iPhone. Oh, I need to go on Facebook. I need to go on Instagram and scroll.
Right. Well, labeling them bad habits, I appreciate it. I'm with you, but I bet they would say, hey, we're definitely leveraging the habitual nature of human beings. And
Leveraging is a kind word. I'd say exploiting.
yeah, I think I'm not surprised you would use that word. I probably would too, I suppose.
I mean, they have engineers that are literally their sole job is how can I get more usage from an individual user? How can I increase my daily active usage? How
What
can I
they call
increase my
that,
monthly active usage?
what they call that is, how do we reduce the user friction? Like, how do we optimize the user experience and reduce
Yeah.
user friction, right? It's like, nope, that's actually code word for how do we get you more and more addicted? How do we commandeer your attention more and more? And what I find fascinating just with Leo, like, I'm on my phone a little for sure around him. And now I'm like, shoot, I got to go audit that and like think about, you know, when, what protocol do we need to set up so that it's like, we're showcasing good habits with this. It's worth a prompt with Mac. Now
Yeah.
that I
I
think
mean,
about
look,
it.
what you said is, I think it's key, right? It's auditing how we parent. And people parent differently. There are going to be people that are listening to the podcast and be like, this guy's crazy. He's old man yelling at class,
Crazy
right?
handsome.
Yeah, that too. If they're listening, as opposed to watching.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I think auditing, right? Auditing is a key thing, right? As however we want to parent, are we checking in and doing small little retros, whether it's ourselves internally or with our partners? And what are we doing well? What can we improve on? And that's, again, like, how can we be 1% better every day as a parent?
That's the truth. It's amazing noticing like Leo's literally uh, tracking with my cell phone at times. Something about screens is so
It's a life.
inherently,
Yeah.
it's the light for sure. And then like, the different colors, and it's just, and he sees us holding them. So I think he's associating that with like, oh, that's what those things do. His parents do. It's just
Yeah.
fascinating how susceptible a young, impressionable mind is with a screen, and not even with the content yet on the screen. It's just this little magical thing, this little whimsical thing. They don't even really, of course, they
Yeah.
don't conceptualize it yet. And yet that's just like the gateway drug. It's just the brightness and the colors. And then eventually there's just literally the endless wandering of the internet is available, and everything from like cat memes to Red Bull videos,
Yeah.
the th-
Endless. Whatever you
endless,
want.
endless. And so that they'll inevitably have to, or get to, uh, harness the internet or utilize the internet, utilize AI. But you know, what I think I'm hearing you reveal to me, and hopefully for anyone listening, it's like, you really do have to think about the behaviors that you're consciously bestowing on them, or that you're subconsciously showcasing that they're going to emulate, and ask yourself, is that equipping them? Is that empowering them? Is that setting them up for success? Or is that creating vulnerabilities and downfalls? You almost have to extrapolate. What's it going to be like if they don't know how to just entertain themselves and find curiosity in the analog world? If they're only,
100%.
that's really, it's a profound time to be a parent. Do you think I mean, there's a unique set of characteristics about our time that make this time feel like a unique time, the most unique time in history or something. But I think there's been the same, um, the same thing over time, I'm sure, has existed, where there was like a historical context of the way things were, and then new innovations or new things that changed the paradigm, and it felt like, well, shoot, this is the craziest time to be a parent. That's probably a timeless thing in a way. This is just our version of it.
That's exactly right. And that's how I feel about all of this. You look back in history, it's the same thing. It's just different. It takes a different guise, a different form. But I think in terms of challenges, it's the same stuff. It just manifests differently, right? This is nothing new. I will say that with AI, I think there's a massive paradigm shift, right? We had the new internet, and then we had mobile with phones, and then now we've got AI. So I think in that world where we were talking about this a little earlier before we started recording here, but um, in an AI world where you have every answer at your fingertips, even better than Google, right? Where you have to click on blue links. Now you've got it answer right in front of your fingertips. You can dig in more and all that stuff. But how do you create what's going to be valued is intellectual curiosity. How can you take that and, provide something creative around it, something structurally creative or something unique, right? So like the ability to write and think. And, I went to Amherst College, liberal arts education. They teach you how to think. I think those types of learnings or skill sets are going to be that much more important in an AI driven world where our human characteristics are going to be highly valued. They should be.
Gosh. And therefore, uncovering your kiddo's gifts becomes even more of like, that's a gift. It's also a great duty of ours now to help them uncover their greatest gifts and then to take ownership of them and like, you know, uh, embrace them and turn them into their competitive advantage and to honor them, to be like, to truly be a unique individual versus a cog in the wheel versus a conformist versus, we talked before the podcast started that the maybe the historical way we were raising, in an assembly line fashion, we're manufacturing a workforce.
It's like that movie Wall-E. I don't know if you saw that movie, but essentially it's a Disney Pixar movie, and it's
Sure.
basically everybody turns into kind of blobs because we do nothing. Everything's done for us. So I guess again, it comes back to habits, and habits can breed confidence. They can breed, strength. And, what kind of habits do you want your kids to have? And habits have short-term effects. They have long-term effects. And habit forming is something that I think is a unique responsibility and ability that as parents we have, and when we can help our kids with in a positive or negative way.
And with potentially wherever AI takes us, wherever technology takes us in the future, to teach our kids to build the habit and the fortitude, the mental fortitude, the mental habit to be stewards of their own attention and to maintain that intellectual curiosity, which I think that's always been a value add thing for, it's a timeless thing. It'll be an essential thing now. It won't be a nice to have. It'll be a must have. So
Table
creating
stakes.
habits, table stakes.
How else are you going to be different? Right. How else are you going to have a competitive advantage in an AI driven world and it's that ability to create your own thoughts, put pieces together yourself, have the ability to kind of put the puzzle together. And I don't know, but the uniqueness of that humans bring to the table, I think will be more appreciated and more instrumental than ever in our AI kind of world that we're approaching.
There's no question about it. How about as a dad, you're still a green dad, 2.5 years old. You're playing in the pros. Don't get me wrong, but this is like, it's like second season dad or something. I'm not sure. And you got
early
two
innings.
though. I don't know. But I'm just imagining the dad that Andrew Schremp becomes after, you had a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old that are, collegiate level athletes doing something special, maybe playing in the symphony. I know you're a multifaceted dude, so I can't wait to see them grow up and uncover their gifts. But, you know, the biggest surprise for you as a young dad, maybe the messiest part of it that you didn't necessarily anticipate that it's all good maybe, but it's like, this is the messy part of dadhood. What is that for you?
It's literally cleaning. I am a professional cleaner every day, every morning, every evening. The house is a war zone. The war zone.
Especially with two boys.
I mean, right? Like, and you're trying to get the board, like this morning, we've got a dog. We've got the two boys. The two boys go to daycare. My wife had to leave for work at 7. So she's out of the house. We just started potty training with Liam. So I'm trying to get him to go pee on the potty. I'm trying to get breakfast cleaned up. Bowden's crawling around. Ajax is trying to eat his food. Bowden's getting in. It's chaos. It's mass chaos. You try and do the best you can, but in terms of an absolute mess, it is literally, Nicole and I are professional cleaners. It's unbelievable. Yeah, food, poop, pee, whatever. It's a war zone.
It's like, that's the real deal, man. I mean, for the time being, you are cleaning up.
This is why you got it. That's why you got to enjoy the present, right? Thank you. May I have another? Great, Liam. Like, you just took a deuce right on the kitchen floor. Yeah, great. Yeah, you just enjoy it, right? He's going to be potty trained soon, so you just have to enjoy picking up feces off the floor while you can.
You know Jocko Willinix?
Of course.
He's like, this sucks. Good. This is
Embrace
hard.
the suck.
Good.
Yes.
That didn't go as planned. Good. I love that. And then he's
it's a mindset.
Man, Jocko's a phenom to me. He's a
warrior.
Like, if you could only be one or the other, super powerful, physically powerful, and have like a physical presence, or be an intellectual, which one would you pick? You have to pick one or the other for the sake of the exercise.
You got to be an intellectual. And I'm a big fan of working out and doing all that stuff. But
well, it turns out Jocko is both, dude. He's like a modern day philosopher.
By the way,
articulate,
tell the audience who Jocko is for those that don't know.
Let's see. What do I know about Jocko? I know he's got a military background. Was he a Navy SEAL? He probably was.
Navy SEAL. I forget what SEAL team he was, but he puts out a ton of content. He's one of those guys. You talk about discipline, positive habits, routine. This guy is a leader. It's incredible. But yeah, he certainly has it all.
Yeah, and so, I mean, he's creating content. He's got to have a creative aspect to him. He's big, burly. He looks like G.I. Joe in a way.
Yeah.
And yet he's incredibly articulate, precise with his wording. I admire him from a communication and leadership standpoint. And then I love his one of his latest endeavors. Who knows? It's hard to keep track of everybody doing amazing things out there. But his American-made denim and manufacturing efforts with Origin. Do you know about this? He's trying to bring he's trying to bring manufacturing of textile manufacturing back to the U.S. and actually give it a foothold. And so he's got Origin as his brand.
I'm gonna have to pick up some jeans.
Yeah, some jeans, some work boots. It's like proper American.
That's awesome. I had no idea about that. That's great. I'm gonna have to check that out.
The American worker.
Well, yeah, he brings, I mean, you talk about Navy SEAL and, is there any other profession where you need more mental fortitude than being a Navy SEAL? I've got 2 buddies that are Navy SEALs and just incredible individuals. But it's a mindset, even with kids, right? Like, embrace the suck, and it's only there for so long, and then it's going to be something else and whatever. But it's just, and the irony of all of this is when you get outside of that mindset, at least what I've noticed for me is, Liam's of the age where he knows how to start pushing my buttons, and it's like a little mini. And when you react to they're always taking notes, learning, whatever, always. They're like little machine. But if you react negatively, he knows exactly how to push your button. Guess what he's going to do? He's going to do it again and again. So that's fair. If you can keep it together and kind of keep your cool and have that kind of stoicism about you, I think it pays benefits, or else if your kid's anything like Liam, you're gonna have hell to pay for a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the ultimate litmus test of if you've paid attention to who you are and your habits and your ways, and whether they're adding value or if they're creating, friction and waste in your
Yeah. Yeah.
they're
I mean, their goal learning is trying to test boundaries and figure out what they can get away with and what they can't. And it's,
exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they're little computer
it's fun.
processors, little machine learning devices.
Yeah. Yeah. Little real AI bots as we speak.
Yeah, and then unfortunately they need to be fed constantly, and then they also shit and piss everywhere from time to time,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
a joy. So I want you to think about, like, maybe to put some icing on our conversation. It's like, imagine a time in the future when Liam and Bowden are sitting around and they're telling the next generation of shrimps
Mm, mm.
about the legend that is their father. Maybe you're still alive, but just imagine way in the future, they're weaving tales about you and you're known for three things. What are the three things you hope to be known for?
Wow. That's a hard one. Um, well, as I think about this in the back of my mind, I will say, I forget who said it, but, there's some quote that's, if you want to know about a person and who they really were, ask their kids. Their kids know the good things about everything, right? So the legacy, ask the kids. So your question is spot on. I'm going to have to dig up and where I found that. Let's see the top three things. Um, God, I hope they say that just there, right? I was present. I was there for everything, right? I didn't miss anything of substance. Um, I was present. I was there. I was attentive. I gave them the time that they needed. And that kids just need time. It's the most important. I think people get that wrong a lot, right? Where I need to provide for my family. I need to make as much money as I can and all that stuff. And great. Yeah, you do. There does need to be a roof and safety and all that stuff. Right. But I think it can get carried away in that, well, I've got to work late again. I've got to work late again. Whatever it may be, like table stakes are, you just have to be there for your kids. You have to spend time with them. You have to be there. I think that's so important. So I would say that's number one. Um, Number two, I hope they say that I'm a hard ass, because I think that means that I did my job. I think that's just kind of who I am and built in my DNA. And um, again, I may get back to how we parent. If Liam or Bowden step out of line, well, guess what? I'm going to be there to make sure that they get back on track. If they're at practice and they're not giving it their all, or they're mouthing off to their coach, guess what? I'm going to tell they're going to hear about it from me, but that coach is going to be able to discipline them. I just believe in that. I think it's really important. Um, and then three, I think just love. Just created a good foundation of love with our family, from Nicole, from the boys, from my dog, from me. Um,
Mhm.
just a unit, a team. We're a team grounded in love. That's it. Those are the three things.
Love those. Those are good, man.
Well, I just
Nice.
came up with that.
I'm glad you.
That
I'm
was a
glad
great
you're
question. That was a good question.
awesome, man. I'm glad you're thinking that way. That's like, I'm kind of curious about that from everybody I'm talking to, as a way to finally frame up, to finalize the conversation and frame up, like,
I
how are
love
you
that.
really approaching fatherhood, right? Because that's
That was a
outcomes.
great question.
That's
Yeah.
those are outcomes, and those are worthy outcomes. Um, and you'll figure out the procedures, the methods, the process to get there. That's the mess.
It's the messy part. You just
Yeah,
gotta
and you're
enjoy it.
resourceful and convicted, and there's no doubt about it, and you're gonna achieve those things. So, thanks for sharing those with me.
Love that. By the way, I just thought of this, but at some point, someone needs to interview you with the same questions. And maybe it's like a yearly thing, because I mean, I try not to talk that much. I try and take advice from you and listen more than I talk, but here I was talking a lot. I think it'd be just an idea, take it for what it's worth, but it'd be fun if someone interviewed you maybe every year and you could give your 2 cents in retrospective and all that.
Well,
I'd love to hear it.
thanks, man. I mean, I'd be happy to field any inquiries. And right now, the way these conversations are going, like what I'm doing is processing what it means to take on the ultimate role, and pondering that with you. And there's no one right answer. There's no perfect answer that I'm looking for, that people need to meet the right answer or the wrong answer. It's not like that at all. It's a great framing for, like, what does it actually mean? How do we make sense of this duty, this responsibility, this gift that we have to be dads? Make the most of it for ourselves, not firstly from a selfish point, but to a degree acknowledging, like, this does need to be meaningful and special to me. But it's on behalf of, my kiddos, and having an impact on them and creating a ripple effect into the future,
Love it.
and being
Love everything
intentional
about
about
it.
it. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, it's been a treat talking with you on Whoa Dad Go Dad. I'm glad you're one of the early interviews I've captured, and I vow to see you in a 3-dimensional capacity soon. And then
I look forward to that.
let this be the first of at least a couple podcast conversations. This is
Man.
Well,
Well, it's an honor to be invited. And if I could be one of the recurring guests, I mean, geez, I see those people on Saturday Night Live and all that stuff. No pressure, but happy to come back anytime. You know that.
Good to be with you, brother. I'll see you on the next one.
All right. Take care. We'll see you in person here soon.
There you have it. That's been another episode of Whoa Dad Go Dad. If you like what you're hearing, hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast so you get the future ones, and please spread the word and post this episode to your social networks. That's powerful. Perhaps the best thing you can do is share this directly with a new dad or a soon-to-be dad that you know personally. Let them know you're rooting them on. And indeed, drop a comment and be really a part of this dialogue on fatherhood with me. Let me know in the comments a question you want me to ask other dads, or just some feedback. How does this sound to you? What's helpful? What stands out about these conversations? I would appreciate that intel as I grow Whoa Dad Go Dad. I've got many more episodes to come, and I'm so glad you're here. Looking forward to catching you on the next one.
Whoa, Dad, here we go now. Oh yeah, the ultimate roll now. Oh yeah, here we go now. Whoa, Dad.